Dad?
Hi, Willie.
Hi, can you take me to basketball practice now?
Okay.
In the tumble of day-to-day child rearing, parents often forget to stop and have those monumental talks on the big issues, like sex and beer. I know I did. With fathers and sons, it's doubly bad, because males don't talk much to begin with. In fact, my son Willie and I just got around to it in a new book. How odd.
We probably should have had this talk 30 years ago, but we've never discussed the birds and the bees. Is it too late for us?
Well, Willie, look at your beautiful family. I think you figured some stuff out. Let's do it.
Still, questions remain. And who better to answer them than Dr. Phil?
I always thought this would come naturally, that you'd be walking through the woods and sit down on a rock and have the birds and the bees talk with your son, but we never went to the woods, so.
Well, all right, let's just assume you're sitting on that rock right now. Little Willie's sitting in front of you. He's 12 years old. You're going to have the talk. So look at Willie right now, and let's have the birds and bees talk with just a few of your closest friends watching.
Son, I think it's time we had a little talk about the birds and the bees.
Okay.
Well, birds try to attract each other with colorful wings and so on, and bees, the drones mate with the queen and then they die.
So let me get this straight. After you have sex, you die? Is that what you're telling me?
If you're a bee.
Having heard that conversation, I think it's maybe best that you skip that, that you walk past that rock, because I think you would have scared the hell out of him, Bill. Why do you think you never had that conversation?
It was awkward, and I'm a chicken. And I also was afraid that he'd contradict me. Kids these days know more about sex than we do.
My dad would try to bring up the topic, and then I would quickly transition to the Yankees.
I would say to Willie, so what do you know about sex, son? And
What?
He'd say, what? And I'd say, how about that Jeter? He's swinging a hot bat.
There you go. See? Right to the Yankees.
And then he'd ask me if we had any pretzels.
We spent a lot of time together, so I don't think we had to have those big ceremonial talks that a lot of fathers and sons had. My dad led well by example.
Did either one of you have a point in your life when you realized that you really hadn't conversed about any of the big watershed events?
Well, I think part of it was when my dad announced recently that he has Parkinson's disease. It was something that I didn't know about for about 10 years while he had it. I think that was the moment where we looked at each other and said, hey, maybe we ought to start talking about some things a little bit more than we did.
Willie, my question for you is, now that you have children, Lucy and George, do you think you will do it differently?
I think definitely. I'll have a more open dialogue. I'm not saying I'm having the birds and the bees talk, because that, Bill, is why God made Google. Look it up, kid.
Yeah. Now, Bill, let me ask you this. As a grandfather now, I'm finding out that I'm doing a lot of parenting things better the second time around than I did the first time around. How are you doing with Willie's children? I mean, have you had any of these talks with maybe George or anything?
It's interesting. George started asking me about heaven.
When my dad told me about that, I said, you just had, with my 4-year-old son, a deeper conversation than you and I ever had in our lives. And he's 4, talking about the afterlife.
I think your own kids it's sometimes hard to talk to them.
Well, plus, you have had learning experience. My mother used to make pancakes, and she says you always throw the first ones away because then the skillet's just right. So maybe that's it with kids. You throw Willie to the side, you pick up with George where he left off.
Try and do it
Willie.
better, see how that works out.
I like that. I'm the first pancake. Right to the trash.
That's right.
All right.
If Willie is a pancake, I'm entering him in the Pillsbury Bake-Off.